When life throws you a curveball, how are you going to handle adversity? Welcome to the Fearless Mindset Podcast, where you're about to go on a journey as I interview security, business, and entertainment leaders on what it takes to stay fearless. I'm your host, Mark Ludlow, and enjoy today's episode. This is Mark Ludlow in the Fearless Mindset Podcast. My guest today is Rob Lamm. He comes to us from Montana. He's a rancher, he's got horses, and I hear he's a Marine, but I won't hold that against him. I'm a Marine too. Anyway, to make a long story short, Rob and I met in Northern California. We're working on a disaster project, and Rob did such an impressive job to the client, he got a coin for that project, or for whatever he did there. And because we signed non-disclosure agreements, we can't even say who it was. So welcome to the private sector and security industry. But Rob and I just connected there. I got to know him a little bit and just know his skill set and what he did overseas for the Marine Corps. And I'm going to let Rob kind of tell his story, what he's liked about the Marine Corps, kind of the fun stuff that he got to do. And share that kind of experience in the Marines and what you're able to pull off over there.
Hi. Yeah. So I joined the Marine Corps in 1999 before any wars or anything. Was part of the 2nd Battalion, 1st Marines, was an infantry unit. Then we went to the MUSOC, which is our special operations capable, deployed to the Middle East. Was on my way back. Actually, I had already left Hawaii. It was about 3 days from hitting San Diego from my first deployment when 9/11 happened. Had my dad and grandpa on the boat with us. They came out and did a Tiger cruise, so they got a ride from Hawaii back with us, see ship life, and
sweet.
It was pretty cool because my grandpa was part of the 7th Army Corps in Okinawa, so he was with the Marines during the Pacific War. And he said it was a huge difference coming across on our boat than what he rode on. So it was pretty cool to have that history there. So went from there, went to a different unit, was part of what we called trailer platoon back in the day. And we did the security for any special operations units that were operating in RAO. So easiest way to explain it, most people have seen the movie Black Hawk Down. Right. The Rangers, they were the security element. So that's what I did. Got to work with a lot of different special operations throughout Southeast Asia and all the way into Afghanistan and Iraq, doing that type of stuff. Got out, really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. Was a hunting guide for a few years. Realized that you don't make a lot of money and you put a lot of work into it. And
right.
Had a buddy that was working at the State Department and asked if I wanted to get into contracting. And I said, yeah, let's do it. So I went to work for Blackwater, worked for them for about 3 years, was in Iraq. Had a big hat change between Blackwater and Triple Canopy at the time. I did a revetting with Triple Canopy for the same job, just a hat change. Was just finishing up with that. And the gal that used to handle all of us in our travel and everything called me and asked if I wanted to change of scenery. I said, yep, I would definitely do a change of scenery. So I went back to Blackwater and started doing some, contracting for a OGA element out of Afghanistan, and did that for damn near 10 years. It was a long time. I rode for the brand with them.
Wow.
Yeah.
10 years. So during that 10-year process, you were with Triple Canopy and Blackwater, and you're also, offline we spoke, and you said you're also an instructor for local nationals at the time and point there. And what was that like with all the things going on over there?
It was crazy. It was like teaching 5-year-olds. That's all I can say. That their mental IQ was like teaching 5-year-olds. I learned a lot of patience. And what happened is ITAR and COTAR, international trade, and can't remember what COTAR stands for. I did a million classes on them, but I don't remember it. But they basically came out and said we could no longer train the foreign local nationals ourselves. They had to create a whole new entity to come and train them. So government bureaucracy, all that stuff. So we had another company come in that started training them, and they do a phenomenal job. From when they took over, I went straight back to doing base security. We were setting up forward operating bases and maintaining them, doing a lot of security in that aspect. Was, again, something I learned a lot of patience with, because you're working with the locals, and it was pretty crazy. After that, I quit in 2017. And from there, I started instructing for a local company here in Bozeman, Montana called Tactic. And we teach civilians really good, safe firearms handling. From there, I got brought in with another one of the larger companies before they sold out that does private security. Met my old business partner through them. I met you through him on our big natural disaster.
That was
yeah. That's great. And then I worked a lot of really high-end clients. I lived in California for almost all of 2018. Was down there for 20. Yeah, I was working for a big hedge fund investor down there. I ran the detail down there with my previous business partner, and we swapped off every 15 or 20 days, just depending on how the schedule was going. If they were gone for a few extra days, they just stayed on. We were real flexible with that. Was a really, really good detail, had a really good group of guys, made some really good friends with that. And I've done a few other shorter lived gigs to help out and everything with some high net worth companies and individuals. That I really liked the security industry until I started seeing all the backstabbing between all the major companies.
It's like Shark Tank on CNBC, but worse.
Oh, 100%. It went against my whole mentality of team. It
just ruins it.
Yep. But I think that's where I have my niche now, is teaching security personnel in the civilian sector. And we have government contracts as well, but teaching them to better work as a team, and that not everyone's out to get you. And I want to get rid of that niche of backstabbing and all that for that next level. Why not work as a team and bring everyone up together?
That's the thing that stuck out with me, Rob, when we were working together in Northern California, that disaster. You're so cool, calm, collective. And I can tell in your presence, just working with you, and your just how you carried yourself. You just wanted to be a team. You didn't care
exactly
who post or whatever. And I think you're putting in like 36, 48 hours, and then hey, have them come over here from XYZ location. You're tired, but you, as I say, you sucked it up, buttercup, and that's what you did.
Yep.
And, but yeah, we saw so much stuff on that one detail, that all the backstabbing going on, all the manipulation going on, just for billable hours for XYZ company that was on the ground with us. But I think you said a key thing, your network. You always had a buddy that knew somebody that pulled you in, and networking is so critical in our industry. If you don't have a network, that is your net worth in this industry. Your network is your net worth. And a lot of people think, apply for a job and all that, but it is working on that detail. That is your interview every day. You show up to work. That is an interview. That's probation. They say you're as good as your last detail in the executive protection industry. And people, I think they forget that, especially the youngsters coming in, they don't get it. And they're so busy doing selfies on red carpet or XYZ, a landmark in whatever city they're in. And they're so busy doing that, they need to, start finding out who the detail leaders are. And it seems like that's what you've really mastered in California.
And it was, you and I have talked offline and stuff about how I'm not the person that will go out and just say, hey, I'm so-and-so, this is who I am, this is what I've done type of thing. And I told you that's my weak spot before, and you told me I had to get over it. It is 100% networking, and, you're only as good as your last detail. But we also have to remember, sometimes guys have just bad days and stuff, and, we never know what's going on. And, working as a team, that's where you pick up the slack of your buddies and stuff. It's not permanent picking up a slack, but it's, hey, he's having a bad day. Let's make sure he can get through today. We can pick up his slack a little bit. He'll do it for us the next round. So, yeah.
Great points. I want to go back to the days you were doing setting up sites, military-based sites. You mentioned offline that you did threat assessments for those bases. What was that like in a day? What was like a daily activity when you're doing those assessments?
Yeah. So, the first thing you got to do is you got to look at the layout, where the base is going to be set up, and then start developing rings of security. And that was what I was trying to do down there in California on that natural disaster is, your most important things, that ring of security has to have the most minimal access to it. Once that ring of security is set, then we do the next ring of security, and it has, a lot more access to it. Then we have that outer perimeter where we had the basic, uniformed guys out there making sure, just checking IDs that everyone was supposed to be on the base that was there. And I mean, it's the same thing when you're overseas. You have your most secure stuff in the center. That's where the Americans live. That's where your food was, where all the mission planning rooms and all that stuff would happen. All that stuff is in the center. Then you have your next ring of security, which, a lot of times we had military units that were attached to our bases and stuff, and they lived in those outer units. And then we had the far outside perimeter, which had all of our local nationals and stuff, because we didn't want them coming into our secure facilities. And, day to day, a lot of times after the base was set up, it was just going around, making sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing, looking for potential threat areas, stuff like that. But setting it up, man, it was a lot of work. We were filling HESCOs, we were filling sandbags. We were right there helping everyone else out, deciding where a landing zone could be built, deciding where the trucks would come in and turn around. We still had to have flow because you have to have food and supplies brought in. So, it was a lot of logistical and mapping of how everything was going to be done, getting everyone on the same page, and then making it happen.
So you became like a military logistical expert.
I wouldn't say an expert. I just been really good at reading maps and looking at terrain and being like, if we do this, everything will flow through there. That's one thing I've always been good at is, would that be spatial awareness or something like that? That's just one thing I'm really good at, seeing how, whenever I used to move from one house to another, packing a U-Haul van, I knew exactly how much I needed and how everything was going to fit, type of thing. But also seeing what the tactical advantage is. You don't want to have your inner ring of security down in a hole where the other rings can see inside it,
Good. Visibility.
Exactly. So.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that part of your role there, setting up, doing risk assessments and all that for the bases, you got into some altercations. What were those altercations like on the ground? Can you give some examples or some stories on what was that?
Sure.
Like?
Yeah, I mean, we had lots of altercations. We had altercations from within ourselves, active shooter stuff where local nationals would just, they're humans too, and they flip out and they have, like I said, the mental acuity of a 5-year-old, and they just turn on everyone, to lots of indirect fire, rockets, mortars, all that stuff, full-on base attacks. I actually got injured. I got a bunch of pinched nerves from a V-bid that blew up while I was out checking perimeter, and we had a whole bunch of local nationals all in a tower. And I said, hey, you need to get down. If a car pulls up underneath here, it's going to blow up. And they gave me a whole bunch of guff about it. I was walking back to my truck, blew up, threw me into a wall, and twisted on my neck, pinched a bunch of nerves and everything.
Holy crap. How far did you fly up in the air when the explosion, the impact?
No, I flew straight into a wall, probably about 5-6 feet.
Oof.
And hit on my shoulder.
So you fully kitted up when that happened?
Oh yeah. I was always fully kitted up. We had a lot of guys that wouldn't do that. I just always thought that the one time I took my stuff off was going to be the time I needed it. So, I was fully kitted up. I didn't have a helmet on. Probably if I would have had a helmet on, it might have tweaked my neck a little more, but because I landed, mainly on my shoulder, and then it pushed my neck over to the side. So a helmet might have pushed it to the side a little more, but I didn't get like a real bad bump on my head or anything. Luckily.
Well,
Yeah.
it could have been very tragic. And just think of all the injuries. All our vets are coming back to the stateside from being over in the theater, over in the Middle East, and all those injuries that they have now. And, going to the VA, getting prescriptions and all that. And it's, I hear a lot of people are in medical disability because of those injuries, which
Yep.
we got to take care of our vets. We just have to.
Yep. And we don't know. I mean, we're just scratching the surface on the human brain in the civilian and military, whatever scientific world is out there. We really don't know a lot about it, but we're learning more and more. And like the big one is TBI. I'm pretty sure 70% of our vets coming home probably have traumatic brain injury. And you don't have to get hit in the head, but rockets hitting close to you. I'm pretty sure I got mine from artillery that shot over the top of our barracks. So we'd be outside and they'd shoot artillery without warning us. And it was so loud and deafening that it would drop you to your knees when they'd shoot it. You'd think you'd just been blown up, but it was them shooting the artillery pieces over the top of us, which I know they weren't doing it on purpose or anything, but it's just like, okay, this base, when it was built, why did we put the artillery battery in the middle of the base? So they're always shooting over the top. But I'm pretty sure that really rung my bell a few times more than it needed.
Yeah, when that was going on, who was the adversary when you're over on the theater? Was it Hezbollah, Hamas? Was it Iranian equipment being used? I heard a lot of my buddies that came back, be working out at the gym. They said, yeah, we saw markings of Iranian markings on the equipment. Is that true what you saw?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, we saw weapons and stuff come in from all different places. I mean, we saw stuff that was made in people's houses. It was crazy, the ingenuity that they used to build all that stuff. But it just depended on what area of the theater you were in. If you were closer to Syria, you were seeing Syrian stuff. If you were closer to Pakistani area, then it was a lot more Pakistani stuff that you saw. So it all depends on where you're at. But most of the stuff they had, I'm pretty sure, was left over from the Soviet bloc insurgency. Now, when I was in the Marine Corps and in Iraq and stuff, in Iraq, when, we were up close to, oh my goodness, my brain is just completely blanked out. But most of the insurgents, they were bringing stuff in from their own country, Syria and stuff like that, Okay. It was pretty, they all had passports. None of them were locals that we were getting involved with. So it was a true insurgency. Yeah, a true insurgency.
So foreign nationals coming from all over the world. Yep,
to fight the Americans. And, at the time, you're like, oh, why would anyone hate America? Why would anything do that? And, I'm very patriotic. I love America and stuff.
Yeah, brother.
But there's so much misinformation out there about us that brings that around. And, every time we go to war with a country, the country always says the reason these people are poor is because of America, yet the elite in those countries are uber rich and have gold-plated toilets, but that's our fault.
I like how that, it's crazy. What they say, all political parties, they corrupt. Yeah, and when you're been in the theater of war, you see it.
Yep, and I even saw it in America. I know our politicians are corrupt.
Sure.
Obviously, we won't get into politics and stuff. That's someone else's podcast. But
yeah, exactly.
I just tell everyone when they ask me what my beliefs in politics are, I said, if any politician's mouth's moving, he's lying. They're all lying to us.
You got to keep your sanity, because it doesn't matter. When I was in the Marine Corps, I was under Bill Clinton's administration.
Yeah.
And he gave the order to go to Nicaragua or South America, which I did. And I had to give my life up in combat. Guess what? I had to give my life up. That's the oath I took as a Marine. Didn't matter who was in office. It's just
exactly
the oath you take and the pledge as the Marine you take.
Yep. And it boils down to your team.
Absolutely.
That's what you're really there for. You really don't care. I mean, we all care about our family and everything like that, but they're not there in the suck with us. And for those that don't know, in Marine talk, the suck is basically your everyday life, because it sucks. So we just say living in the suck, they're not out there sweating. They don't have the salt building up on them and then getting prickly heat. And, it's just, it's your buddies are the ones that are there living through the suck with you. And that's why we became so close. You may not have talked to one for 10 years, but if you were riding by him in the street, you'd probably give him a big hug and go have a beer.
Absolutely. It's almost like, I think the Army Rangers, correct me if I'm wrong, but they have the slogan, embrace the suck.
Yeah.
It's just it's all a mindset. It's a fearless mindset, like my podcast. It's all
exactly
to function daily. Can you elaborate more on that mindset for you?
Yeah.
Survival?
Yeah. So I am a huge mindset person. I really like to take the actions that happened in a active shooting situation in Seattle at a high school. There was a bunch of people lined up against the wall, and the active shooter shot him. Well, most of the people lined up against the wall were the wrestling team. So what do we think? Who's going to protect us out of all of our friends in high school? It's the wrestlers, but they didn't have that, and they didn't do anything wrong. I do not ever want to say anything bad about their lives and stuff.
Yeah.
They were kids, and they just did not have that mindset of, I'm not going to go quietly. I'm not going to just stand here. Same thing happened in the Virginia Tech shooting. He walked down the aisleway shooting people in the back of the head in their classroom, and no one stood up to fight him. And a lot of it's because we're just not trained to do that. But those of us that served in the military and did other things in our lives, but even people that aren't, some of us just don't go down that easily. So that mindset is what keeps us going there. And it's a really big part of my training, even in firearms training and stuff, is I tell people, if you don't have the mindset, all you're doing is learning to sport shoot. That's all we're learning to do. And I'm an NRA instructor. I don't have anything against the NRA or anything like that, but the training that I took to be an NRA instructor is not real. It is all tulips and rose-colored glasses and stuff like that. We don't even call a gun a weapon or anything like that. And I look at them when I was in this training, I said, every firearm or gun or weapon made is to kill another person easier than they can kill you. Well, yeah. And I said, then why do we want to change that? That's getting rid of that mindset. We're dumbing it down. Same thing with my outfitting business and hunting. Everyone said, oh, we harvested an animal. I said, no, I grew up on a farm and a ranch. We harvested wheat. We harvested hay. We harvested produce. That's harvesting. I am going out there to kill something to feed myself, my family, or someone else out of my freezer. I don't sugarcoat it because I think it's disrespectful, but it's mindset. Society has made us say, oh, well, our mindset should be nice and easy and everything, but that's not how you survive. That's how you survive on others as a parasite. So we have to have that mindset that not everyone's going to have, someone to come help them. It's up to us.
So when you dig deep inside, because you're a sniper in the Marine Corps too, right?
No, so I never went to sniper school. I went to designated marksman school. Sniper school is a lot longer. I learned to shoot really well, but then I went through Blackwater's DDM school, which is the designated defensive marksman school, and learned to shoot better there. I actually got to go out with our sniper teams quite a bit in the Marine Corps because we were very shorthanded on them, but I never finished that school. And that's actually some of my biggest regrets, is not attempting to finish that school, and then also not attempting to finish and try to go to MARSOC, which for those that don't know, it's the Marine Corps Special Operations.
Is that equivalent to the SEAL teams?
Yeah, I think so. SEALs have been around a lot longer. They have I don't think I could ever make it through BUDS. I cannot run to save my life. I do not want to try it, but
I just say, I don't like pain. I just don't want.
Yeah. And
pain, forget it.
Yep. So I have those regrets of not finishing that stuff. I am very blessed to be attached to them.
Sure.
In that aspect, I know a lot of guys, including myself, would have been grandfathered in with them when they went from Force Recon to MARSOC, and they brought the security platoon in, and there was a lot of confrontation with the Force Recon Marines bringing the security platoon in and putting them there. I mean, it was a whole shit show for the Marine Corps trying to figure that out, but they finally figured it out, and they're getting some of the best training ever and all that stuff. But after 5 years, my time was up. I actually had to re-enlist as an artilleryman if I wanted to stay in, and they told me I had to go to that MOS and complete the MOS school. And I knew if I did that, I would not be given the chance before getting deployed again to go back to either the security platoon or to try out. So I just passed on it and said, no, I'm ready to get out, and got out to further my life in the civilian world. But it is a regret that I'll always have. I think about it quite a bit, you know. As you get older, it's like, maybe I should have done that. My life could have been, you know, something different. Or, you know, what if I wouldn't have passed it? And then I had to go, right. Sorry, artillery guys, I think it's a shitty job and I don't want anything to do with it. And right. I could have been stuck there for 3 years.
Looking back, from where you're there at that point in your life to where you're at now in the private sector, it seems like you're really enjoying being a trainer at
Tactic. And yeah. So, for those that don't know, I am the lead instructor at Tactic MT, Tactic Montana. We do a lot of civilian training. With everything that's going on in the world, we're just flooded. You know, we went from running 4 or 5 people a day to 30 people a day.
That's insane.
It's just insane. And it's all basic firearms training, because people have seen that they're not going to be able to call the cops all the time. And with all this defund the police and just everything that's going on in the world, people need to be more resilient and have that mindset. And then I'm also the director of training for Veterans Covert Protection Group. And they're based out of Livermore, California, San Diego Bay Area and stuff. Alan Perry, you and I both talked. We think he's the next Christian West. He's just amazing in the security industry, and he can sell water to a duck. You know, he's just that good.
And the guy goes nonstop. I'm like, dude, bring your energy. I'd like to have. He's a Marine too. So he can't, you know, must be the blood, must be the DNA boot camp or something probably.
Yep. And he caters to the rich and famous, doing security for them. We have a very, very intense vetting process to hire new agents and stuff like that. But we're also training them up, because as anyone who's taken a state mandated security course, whether it's for getting your security guard license or your firearms permit or an armed security guard license, we all know that it is the lowest common denominator they're trying to push them through. And we're trying to raise that bar. We want the security industry to be looked at as a great, you know, people that know what they're doing, can help out, can do all this stuff. And it's not just shooting, it's all the soft skills too, you know, learning how to talk to people, how to drive people. Medical's a huge one I believe in. You're more likely to fix boo-boos than you are to shoot someone. And also having a backbone and that mindset that you're not going to let people walk on you as well. You know, I want that. And we see it more and more and more that clients are going away from we're staff members to we're family, and being able to work in that environment is really big. So, you know, that's what we're really pushing for. We want to change the security industry for the better. We've been stuck in the 80s and the 90s for a long time. One of our big things is if you have jump teams for those who don't know, are teams that go out in front, advance everything, make sure when your client arrives in whatever city or country you're in, you pick them up, you take them to the hotel, you walk them up there, and you stick your key in his key slot on the door, open it up, and he doesn't have to stand in line or do anything. We're really working at making those more fluid and permanent, because our executives and wealthy families and stuff, they don't want to see a bunch of people coming in and out of their lives in the security industry, especially if they have kids, because that puts a mental block in their head that why do we need all these different people in our lives? You know, they want private lives. So keeping those on the same, the military and State Department really ingrained that in me, that if you have a client, he's your client while you're there. When you go home on leave, whoever's your replacement takes him. As soon as you come back, you're working with him again. You know what his favorite drinks are. You know how he likes the car, heat or cool. You know what kind of room he likes. So if you go into his room and check it, if he hates having a room facing another building, he wants to look out over stuff while he's thinking, you get that room changed before he gets there. So yeah, we're really working at that. trying to think of it, the other stuff. I got so many irons in the fire that we're trying to build up.
Brother, you're doing well.
Yeah, it's
blowing up over there. Yeah, I was going to ask you in your training with Chris, the Navy SEAL tactic. Yep. Are you experiencing the families actually coming out to the range too with the high net worth families, the millionaires and billionaires? Are they coming out to the range and shooting as well with you guys?
Oh yes, 100%. We have, the families are wanting to know how to defend themselves. They're bringing their kids out, and if their kids don't want to shoot or they don't want their kids shooting, we just teach them how to safely unload a firearm, how to, keep it pointed in a safe direction, remove that source, clear the chamber. And we bring a bunch of dummy rounds out, and we have, 9 or 10 different weapon systems out there, and they clear all of them safely, because that's one thing, when I was a kid, we did it in school. Now, you can't even draw a gun in school. So instead of teaching them how to safely handle it, we've taught them that it's going to blow up in their hand or it's going to kill a bunch of people. And then we do have accidents. We have to make sure that, these kids know how to do that, as well as the families and, the security personnel too. Just because you did one day of live fire on a range doesn't mean you know how to operate around other people.
Good point.
I don't want to say operate. You don't know how to handle a firearm around other people, because it just inevitably is going to happen. If you're in a situation as a security agent and you pull out a firearm, you're going to flag people, but you need to know how to keep that finger high and off the trigger till you're ready to do it. And, when you need to put it away, how to interact with the police when the police come. You don't want to get shot because they think you're the bad guy.
Good point.
There's a lot of lacking in our security industry to get licensed and become a security agent. So we're trying to fix that. We want the best out there and the brightest out there, and we want them for every company too, not just us.
Because you guys are training not only the millionaires and billionaires, but the security staff supporting that family when they do mobile trips around the world. Because agents are there by their side. But granted, when they're going overseas, most of the time they're not going to be armed because you can't be licensed.
Exactly. Yep.
So
and we're working with
skills.
Yeah. And we're working, teaching them how to use other than firearm weapons. Once again, it goes to mindset. I really like the Marine Corps' one mind, any weapon.
Absolutely.
That's one of my favorites. Just because you don't have a firearm doesn't mean you're out of the fight.
So true. So true. Great, profound statement. Also, we were talking offline too about there's a huge ammunition shortage nationwide, and now you have to get ammo from Europe, or the ingredients of the ammunition from Europe, and now everything's on hold.
Yep. So there was a huge primer shortage. So primers are what the firing pin in the firearm hit first, and it creates a spark to burn the powder and push the bullet down the barrel. What has happened is people have bought up so much ammunition over the last, couple months because of the fears. Ammunition's the new toilet paper, I guess. So all these companies are trying to catch back up, and they're having such a hard time that what eventually happened was a company in Europe had a bunch of primers. So they shipped them our direction on a ship. So it has to get to port. And I read this a day or two ago, and it was a week old, writing. So they should be here by now, but they have to get through customs. Once they get through customs, they got to go to the distributors. Once the distributors get them, they got to distribute them out to each manufacturer, however many are being bought. Then the manufacturers have to start making the cartridge. So adding the powder into the case, the primer into the case, powder into the case, then the bullet, that makes the cartridge. Then they have to go through quality control. Then they have to get shipped out to distributors, who then will ship them out to our local stores or places wherever you buy ammo. So it's coming, but we're in a time where everyone's hoarding everything, and people are just buying everything up. My local gun shop, he has one of the coolest gun shops out there. 50 caliber machine guns sitting on the floor, belt fed 240s, M60 machine guns, all sorts of good stuff. He's a SOT seller, so he sells fully automatics and stuff too. But everything in his shop, which looks completely full on the shelves, is sold. He's just waiting on the people to come pick it up because of the fear mongering that's going on. So once again, back to the mindset. Right now is the time to really work your mindset. Try to stay positive. We got COVID going on. That slowed a lot of security down. A lot of residential security even got cut in half or almost to nothing. I really think it's going to kick back up probably either Thanksgiving or Christmas, when after the elections, I bet you COVID becomes not as important of a thing and everyone starts traveling again. And that's when I hope these security agents have been training, going to the gym, working, doing online classes to get better at route planning and stuff like that. And, get ready, because I think there's going to be a bunch of work coming up soon. And in the other aspect, I'd sent you some articles and stuff. I think we're getting close to being similar to what happened in South Africa with the defunding of the police and all this stuff, where security companies are going to become bigger than the police departments ever were.
Yeah, funny you mentioned that, because I just had James Hamilton and Gavin D. Becker on a few weeks ago as a guest, and he said the same exact thing you just said about defunding the police. And right now, everybody should be training. Everybody should be training. If you're not working, right now is the perfect time. And then even Mike Trout worked with CIA under George Tenet. He mentioned that when the floodgates do open, there's going to be so much traveling going on, and not going to be able to keep up. So I think you're onto something there, Rob. I'm sure you got yours on the ground, and you're hearing stuff with other teams that are out there.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, it's just people don't like to stay at home. We're social creatures and stuff, and I just think that like I said, I'm not getting into politics, but they're playing us from both sides so that we're either worried or we're not worried, or we're hating each other instead of just getting along. And they're the ones making all the money, and we're sitting here at home. Why, I believe in COVID 100%. Know people have gotten COVID, but I also don't believe in giving up my life so that someone can feel happy about it.
Absolutely.
Because they want to feel happy and wear their mask. Give me the scientific data, real scientific data that isn't manipulated, and I bet we can kick this thing in the butt real quick.
Amen, brother. Yeah, like you said, there's a lot of misinformation going out there, and it's like the podcast. It's a mindset, and right now we need to be fearless as Americans. And for military, we know what we know, and we can overcome this. We will overcome this. We'll see next year. And what I really remember being in the Marine is I lived each day as it was my last.
Yes. And that's really hard to bring back into the civilian world, because loved ones and family members are like, what's your plan? I'm like, live today. I got to live through today, and then maybe I'll do something tomorrow. Yeah, it's really tough to, I don't think it's a bad mindset, but I think it kind of is a poison to us that live that way, because I understand that everyone else that wasn't in the military, that probably went to school or college, they had to plan all this stuff out. And guys like us are like, if we make it through the next 8 hours, we're good to go. My plan is to wake up and have coffee in the morning.
It's simple, but non-complex, but it's just a simple way of looking at life. Because at war, combat, adversity. And now life in America, we have adversity with virus, we have politics, we got the elections, but we will get through this as a country. We always have. We got through the Civil War. We got through World War I, World War II. We got through Adolf Hitler, and we're still standing, and this shall pass. And
I think we're having the tree shaken and seeing what falls out. And, we've established some entities as domestic terrorists. That's what they are. They're domestic terrorists. They're terrorizing people. For the majority, that's not what all these people, protesters and stuff, are. I support people that want to protest for bettering their lives and stuff. But when you become a domestic terrorist, just be prepared that, eventually some people are going to stand up, or you're going to punch the wrong dude in the face. Or like we just saw in Portland, that guy that was drug out of his car and kicked in the head and almost killed and stuff. What is that doing to help anything besides you just being a bad person?
Absolutely nothing.
So
I couldn't believe my eyes. I saw that. I'm like, are my eyes really seeing this stuff? Is this real? It's like a bad Friday the 13th movie. It's like, what the heck?
Yep. And thank God, I just heard on the news that he recovered. So
good.
He's going to be on the news. So
is he? Okay.
I think he's supposed to be on tonight talking about what happened and everything. And once again, going into our mindsets and stuff.
Yep.
If you know that there's rioting or protests and stuff, it's probably best not to go to those areas if you don't want to get involved with it. I know some people have jobs where they don't get the choice. They have to drive through that area. That's the only way to get there.
Right.
But, be prepared. Don't give up.
Keep the fight. It's all a mental fight daily. And, the elections will happen, and whoever gets in office will get in office. And we'll still be in America. We'll still have freedoms. And we have the Supreme Court. We have the different layers of government. And we have those, politicians to be our voice there. We have lobbyists. And, America's still the greatest country in the world. I'm sorry, I'm a Marine. Third world countries. And we live in the best country in the world. And if you don't like that, don't listen to my podcast.
Yep. And you know what? If we didn't have such a good country, they wouldn't be trying to come here.
Oh, what a thought. What a concept. Leave your country and come to our country. Why? Land of opportunity.
Yep.
Why do the filthy rich and the rural come to our hospitals and our medical places for treatment?
Yep.
I wonder. We have the best of the best.
Yep, I agree. And, the other thing we have, and it's the one thing that I've seen slipping along for quite a while, is love. Love for our brothers, man. Brothers and sisters,
Gotta help each other out.
Yeah. Who cares if you are anti-Trump or you're pro-Trump? We're Americans. That doesn't mean that you and I can't help each other,
And what aggravates me the most about that is the stuff I see on Facebook. I just shut it down. Like I spend maybe 10 seconds or whatever time, and I just check out and I do my other projects. And I see so much anger and no need for that. Just get off that stuff.
Yeah. We've gone from love to hate. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. But this is Mark Ledlow. This is my Fearless Mindset podcast. I have Rob Lamm, another Marine as well. And you can find me on my website, ledlowsecurity.com. You can find Rob Lamm at what's the website where they can find you?
So Tactic MT, TACTICMT.com.
Is wearing the shirt.
And I am wearing the shirt. I have to have it on there because I was a Marine and I can't remember how to spell.
Where's your crowns?
Exactly. And also at Veterans Covert Protection Group .us. I guess it was or VCPG.us. I think he narrowed it down. But if you just do a Google search for Veterans Covert Protection Group, that's our other company. They're out of California. Quickly on the way to becoming one of the premier security companies in the U.S. The leadership there is just amazing, and Alan Perry that's working there he's a little mad scientist. So
he's a smart cookie.
Yeah, he's a smart cookie. So
and you can find me at Ledlow Security Group as well. And I think we got a wrap on this. And Rob, thanks for your time and thanks for sharing your story with us. And I'm sure we'll have you back on when things get crazier out there.
Sounds good. Be safe. And as always, just phone call away.
All right, buddy.
All right, man.
Appreciate you.